Okay, this is going to be a quick video about seasoning your pans. This is my, I've got a 5-quart Dutch oven. It's a Lodge Dutch oven. And I used it to, I don't remember what I did last in it. It's actually okay right now, but I'm going to go ahead and go through it like I had just washed it. Usually when you just get through washing it, it's going to be kind of dry and dull and gray looking. Cast iron generally, when it's properly seasoned, will be black. And that you can turn it black usually at this point you should be able to do it within one coat. I have to do this one-handed and hold the camera, so I'm going to stop and start this and show you how I do this. First thing I do though is I'm going to warm up the pan. So you can do this in the oven or you can do it up on the stove top. Generally, I do it on the stove top when it's, unless I'm doing full seasonings where I'm going to put it in the oven for an hour at 400 degrees. Then, otherwise I just put it up on the stove top to warm up the pan. All I want to do is melt the grease that I use. I use bacon grease, and I want to melt it to the point where it fills in the pores of the pan. It makes it real easy to wipe on. So I'm going to go ahead and pause this, and I'll come back when it's warmed up and ready to put some grease on it. Okay, I got the pot warmed up a little bit. Might be easier to do this in the stove, depending on what you're doing. This pot, the top edge of it is still, it's just room temperature probably. Down here, it's hot enough I can touch it without burning myself, but I can't keep my hand on it. It's pretty warm. So what I did is I turned the heat off and just let it sit for a few minutes on the glass top, and that heat will continue to build into the sides. So the rest of this warms up, with time. All right, this is what I use. I use bacon grease. You want to be careful about putting your bacon grease in a plastic cup like this. You can melt it straight through. I don't think I've done that, but it will melt that plastic. Anyway, take a paper towel, like so. Put your little bacon grease. It doesn't have to be a lot, just a little bit on the paper towel. You can barely even see it. But when you put it down on the hot pan, you can see it's spreading some grease on there. You don't want a lot, you just want to wet the pan. And the reason you want it hot, you want that to soak into the pan. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and continue wiping this whole thing down, and I'll come back when I get it wiped down good. Okay, now you can see that the pan looks wet now. And you don't want wet on the bottom. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a dry paper towel and wipe out any excess, and you wipe it out pretty good. Don't wipe down. Just like that. You're going to take off all the excess you can get out of it. And now it's got just a little bit of oil left on it, which is plenty. And this is how you do it when you're seasoning it, whether you're doing a full seasoning on it, whether you're just doing after you use it, the one-time touch-up. So, it gets done the same way. This is how much grease or oil or whatever you want to put on it. If you're going to do a full seasoning, you're probably going to do this several times. Put it in the oven, cook it down, and then let it cool, and then do it all over again. Probably about 3 to 5 times. But I just do this one time after I get done cooking something. So I'm going to go ahead and wipe the whole thing down. Okay, I got the whole pot wiped down, so now I can go ahead and turn the heat back on, and I'm going to put it about 3. That's about usually where I cook at. It's 3 to 3.5. I'm just going to let it sit on there for probably about 10-15 minutes, long enough to bring this pan up to a cooking temperature. It'll get hot, it'll stay hot, and it will cook that grease down to where it's not wet and tacky. You could go ahead and put it in the oven if you wanted to, and put it about 400 degrees and let it sit in there for 30-45 minutes, an hour. and it'll do the same thing. I usually just do it this way when I'm doing touch-up. So hope that gives you an idea of how to season your pans. It's pretty simple once you get into the rhythm of doing this regularly. If you're going to have to wash the pan, if you need to put it in the sink, I usually just use some water and I've got a steel wool Brillo type pad. I use that. You don't have to scrub it very hard because, of course, that will take off seasoning. That'll scratch off seasoning too if you push on it really good. But it, takes off any little crumblies that might be stuck to it or whatever. Other than that, you can use soap if you need to, but just remember soap, it cuts grease. It doesn't take off, it doesn't kill the germs, it just cuts the grease out of your pan. And the grease is what makes your seasoning. So all you're doing is killing your seasoning. It's not, it's not the end of the world if you do it. Sometimes I do it if I need it, but I try not to if possible. The heat from cooking is what kills germs in your pan. When you put it on the oven and get it to 200-300 degrees, it's killing all the germs and any germs that might be in it. If you have any questions or comments, just leave them below. I hope this helped, and thanks for watching.